Right, everybody, welcome back to this afternoon's session. I hope you had a good lunch. Hope you enjoyed the demos, more importantly. Who managed to get around all 15? Fantastic. One committed person in the room. The rest of you are a bunch of lightweights. I don't know what you found to do with an hour and a half. I really don't. There was a lot of interesting stuff out there and a lot of interesting people to talk to. Once again, I'm very conscious that we've got a tight time scale, so we'll go straight on, although I understand some people have been asking about access to the presentation and materials for the day. My understanding is that the Orpheus Project team are going to make them all available to you, and when they're ready, they'll send out an email to all the participants linking to the right place so you can go and find copies from today. So it's my great pleasure, without further ado, to hand over to Lidwine from France Télévisions, who's going to explore how this stuff relates to pictures, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, sound and pictures. What a combination. Who'd have thought? Lidwine.
Thank you, Simon. So my name is Lidwine O, so I'm working for France Télévisions. And unfortunately, France Télévisions is not involved in Orpheus on the first part, but I hope we will work together very soon. So let me get back to the context. We are a public broadcaster, and our topics is to inform, entertain, and educate. So there is a number of ways to learn, educate, entertain, including radio and television. And for years, the role of each media was well defined, and everyone knew what to produce and how. Among the various media and entertainment, there are those whose users are alone and at home, and those who are experimenting with others and in public places. And this is a category I've made, but it's not the only one. We can also classify the media according to other categories, those whose users are spectators and whose users are actors. The users as actors mean that they interact with the content, that the content adapts to them and it evolves according to the action of the users. It means interactivity. It also means that the body is involved in one way or another in the experience. That is not the case for newspaper, movies, books, radio, or TV. But things change. Now let's see what happens to this old media. Every media become an interactive show, and every user become a spectator of the program, in fact. You've seen that the New York Times produced a VR experience. A novelist like Harry Potter creator creates websites, interactive and social games. Radio made games and they film their show. TV produce experience or escape games. Video games create their own movie creates from video games. Museum and touristic place put a VR headset on the visitor, and concerts are real, but sometimes singers are virtual, and the amusement park became more and more virtual. So it's a totally changing world where everybody do everything, and it's quite good. And the user become a spectator. And that means that he wants interactivity, he needs his taste to be taken account. So what is the quality of global user experience? In fact, there is a 3 degree of program improvement, I think. The first degree is that he used accessibility to overcome the difficulties of seeing or hearing. And this is the first step to can have a good experience on a program. But they also need that the content to adapt to their personal tastes. Like what it could be so much things, but he can tell that there is a color he don't like, or he need a recommendation on replays, or he need to the program to know where he stopped and where you have to begin. And the last step of the personalization is a step of about the context. Is it on a noisy environment or not? Is it located in Paris or somewhere else? Maybe it could change something on the program. Is it the evening, or is it on a train or something like that? Is he running and he needs something else on dialogue enhancement or thing like that? So there is a 3-step, I think, on dialogue enhancement, and these 3 degrees are only possible with object-based audio. So what does broadcasters need and what do they do? So let's begin with, in fact, I don't know how to say that. We haven't waited to produce interactive contents because users need it. So we have done some, and I'm going to show you some example. And what we need is to do that more efficiently and with interoperability, or all the things we dream of. So let's see different example. This is a website of the Nouvelles Écritures of France Television. There is more than 100 references. Each of them has a different proposal. Let's see the Chant Acier. It means steel of song of steel. This program was realized 4 years ago. It unfortunately does not offer other language, but it's just in French. There is no audio description, and the program is the same on tablet and computer. And there is no personalization of HRTF. It was in binaural, and the film follows the movement of the transformation of matter passing through the blast furnace and the rolling mill. Added to the image are animated graphics expression, allowing the users to raise voices and text written by the steel makers. So I just have a little film to show you. There are steel makers.
Il est lové dans un carton. La veste d'un côté, pantalon de l'autre.
And user can choose the voice.
J'aime le sourire
of the
qui vient
steel
quand il a
maker.
fini de dormir dans son carton, quand il devient à nouveau ma seconde peau, sidérurgiste.
Si la fonte liquide est dangereuse,
This is another voice, but you can still stay with the first one.
un ami ne doit jamais nous quitter le détecteur de CO, l'oxyde de carbone. Il indique 30 ppm, pas de danger. Il sonne 80 ppm, danger. Il faut mettre le masque et évacuer.
En ce temps-là, il fallait des milliers d'hommes pour faire marcher cette usine. C'était une forge géante où chaque forgeron aurait eu la force d'un TGV. C'est quoi un TGV? C'était un train très rapide. Et il était fait d'acier, et il roulait sur de l'acier aussi. C'est quoi l'acier? C'est le matériau qui les a fait progresser. Vois toutes ces routes et ces voies qu'on distingue encore. Et
Okay, and you see that there is characters, and when you pass the mouse on the screen, you can have the characters of the voice that appears when you pass the mouse. So this is one example of object-based audio. It's not just audio object, it's object, because the content is not linear, and you can listen for the people you want to have the story of this place. And but it wasn't not easy to create it without the good tools. Let me show you another one. Tantale, it's fiction that we've made with Radio France. They made the mix of the binaural sequences. This production is a fiction where you had in the head of the French president, and you have to do choices, and when you make your choice, the story is different. And there are 7 phases of choices and 25 possible scenarios and 5 different hands. So it depends on the choice you made for the president. So it's already totally object-based because the user can choose what he wants to see and to listen. But it's totally linked, video and audio are totally linked. And the Goût du risque, I think it's a taste of risk. The user is in the head of an athlete of extreme and dangerous sports like wingsuit, freeride, or diving, snorkeling. And it's a 360 video experience, and you can choose what experience you want to have. And if you want to have the explanation of sport medicine or of the athletes or of a psychiatric medicine, how do they want to do these things very dangerous? And so it's totally interactive program too. And the last one I wanted to show you, it's called The Enemy. And it's based on the work of a photojournalist, Karim Ben Khalifa, who works for several years on world conflict. And he decided to put the enemy, the different combatants, face to face in an installation where the visitors wear their headset and a headphone with specialized sound, and the visitor is virtually placed in between combatants of the opposing side. And if the visitor is not here, the combatants cannot talk to each other. So the visitor, the user, is a part of the dialogue there is between the two enemies. So this is a screenshot of what you see when you go to this installation. You can be more than 20 people in the same room, but everybody can see different content. It depends on what are the action of the user. And this is Gilad and Abu Khaled. I think it's Israeli and Palestinian. It's very important in that moment, this question. And the objective is to show that the personal question are exactly the same for Israeli and Palestinian, and they are the same people inside. And the question are very personal. And so the user is totally immersed in this conversation. So the paradigm is totally new, and the user become a part of the contents, and his action become a part for the contents, because there is a record of the action and of the users, and how close it goes from the combatants, and what are his action face to face. So it becomes a part of the content. So this is a photography of the installation with all the people wearing headsets and the combatant on the right. And when you're experimenting this face-to-face with characters, you don't know that your behavior is part of the content. And you become, the next step of this installation is that you could become one of them for the other participants. And your movement could be one of the enemy. And now there is an augmented reality app, because this experience could be lived just on a place. And now you can have it on your mobile phone and to bring the combatant in your personal environment. And it's an adaptation of the experience. Now, so what I wanted to tell you is we cannot wait to produce interactive, immersive, and personalized content, but now we need simple workflow and interoperability that we don't have it now. And we hope it will be on production very soon. And also we worked, Mathieu from France Television worked on an ADM export with Pyramix, and we hope we will bring Orpheus in our project very soon. And Orpheus will become an audiovisual experience. It would be very good. So we need the visual in Orpheus to work together. So this is the end.
Thank you. Lidwien, thank you very much. I love what you've done there. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
I pass a lot of time to do that.
Perhaps whoever did that should talk to the Fraunhofer guys about the MPEG-H logo, which is maybe not quite such an interesting design anyway. That's my personal view, what do I know? Has anybody got any questions for Lidwien about the amazing combination of object-based audio and television? While you're thinking about it, guys, I've got a couple of things. Mm-hmm. Which areas, you started off with that large landscape of different media types and technologies. From your point of view, where do you see, which ones do you see as being most successful at adopting the object-based approach? And is there anything that...
Radio. It has already been done by you. I think it...
And is there anything in that in what...
No, the video game is totally an object for a long time because it's totally interactive. But...
and is there anything we can learn from their experience in the broadcasting world?
I think yes, we can learn from video game. But the workflow are totally different. It's so strange to work with an audio engine of a video game. I try and I think it's very surprising to do.
Yeah, I think gaming is one area that a lot of broadcasters have tried to understand and nobody's managed to do it yet, but maybe this is part of that unlocks things. Have you guys got any questions? Yeah, fantastic. All right. Okay. I need some exercise after that excellent lunch, Michael.
Thank you for your talk. After I finally found the app on the store, and do you have any further plans with it? Because by the reviews, I don't recommend you reading the reviews right now. So do you have any further implementation or any updates coming up for the app?
What app did you have?
The Enemy app.
Ah, yeah.
Okay.
And what's your question?
Are you planning to further develop it? Because right now it doesn't look like it's working pretty well.
It's not working?
That's what 7 people say on Google Play. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll try it out myself in a break.
You have to plug your headphone for the experience because it's working just with a headphone plug. Have you plugged your headphone? No? Ah, okay, okay.
This is always a challenge at the cutting edge, isn't it?
Okay, so I'm not responsible of the development of this app, in fact. So I cannot answer you, sorry.
Thank you.
We're getting the microphone and the backpack confused up there.
Mark Ross Smith from Sky. I wondered if you might be able to share a little bit about the budget behind these and what do you have to put in as extra to get these productions made?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The extra money that you would have to spend to be able to produce these alongside the native production.
It's projects that are totally different, you know. Like Tantale, for example, there is hours and hours of shooting more than a movie because you don't look at every part because the story is different because of your choice. And for The Enemy, for example, it's exactly the same cost of a video game, in fact, because it's the same tools. So it depends on what interactivity you want to give to, but it's very difficult to answer you very precisely. And I'm not in the money part, so. But I know it's very difficult to know.
I think that's a really interesting challenge for us, though, if we want to take these technologies and these approaches out of the one-off and the experimental and make them mainstream. How do we scale them? How do we make them at cost? That's a tricky thing to do. And I think it's really difficult to understand the cost base of these sort of things and base it on the one-off. But yeah, it's interesting. And perhaps we'll get into what the tools look like in a moment, actually. So does anybody, I think we've got time for one last question. If anybody's got one. If not, we can recover a bit of time because we're running over just a tad. Lidvin, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.